Hi everybody, John here. It's going to be a video where I show many of my rock records that I've collected this spring. I've got quite a lot, and this is, I guess, a handful of some of those. Probably going to need to make another video like this to show the other ones that I haven't got time to show this time. But I thought I'd start off by introducing this character. This is Sonny. And Sonny's around about 1 year old now. So technically he's sort of puppy, but he's getting about full-size dog shape now. He's a Cocker Spaniel of the working variety. And I'm going to show him really now because he kind of likes to introduce himself. I think he sees times when I'm making videos or recording needle drops, he sees that's the time when he needs to kind of make his presence known. So you'll often hear him barking. I guess it's his way of saying, don't forget to say something about me. So that's who you can hear barking. I do apologise, but I guess it's his way of trying to grab some of the limelight perhaps. So there we go, that's Sonny. Now you'll know who it is that's making the noise when I ask him not to. Okay, right, you can go in now, Sonny. Thank you. Shh, I'm making a video. So, as you'll probably have heard in the background as I make this video, I'm playing this record, which is the best way to hold it up. This is Moon Tan by Golden Earring. There we go, lovely gatefold sleeve. This record is on Track Records, and it's one that I'd seen shown quite a lot by many different people on the vinyl community. Richard Rocks had shown it. I'm not sure if he was the inspiration for me to get it. He may have well been, or at least one or two other people had shown it too, and that sort of spurred me on. Oh, I really got to get that record, if only for the cover, because it's a beautiful cover. So yeah, that's what I'm playing right now. It's a really good record. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. Golden Earring, I feel they're kind of a band that sort of straddle classic rock and progressive rock. They're not quite a prog rock band as far as I know, but on the other hand they obviously are a little bit more than the average sort of classic regular rock band. So they're an interesting band to embrace, I think. So the next record I'm going to show is this. This is their 12th studio album, I believe. It's called Mad Love, but it's actually the American version of an album that they released called Contraband. Yeah, it's a pretty good record. Not one of the sort of favourite of the fans, but I saw this in actually a used record shop actually, and I thought, well, seems too good not to take advantage of and get it. Been enjoying it, I must admit, but I think there's a lot to be found in the Golden Earring catalogue that I haven't heard yet. So definitely going to have to start, looking into getting more of their catalogue. So what do you think of this? Next I'm going to show a record by Bachman Turner Overdrive. This is their second album. It's a really good record. Somebody recently showed BTO, who was it? I can't remember who it was. I don't know much about the band. I do know that for some reason there was a lot of turbulence in the band, you know, sort of arguments between, I think maybe is it Bachman and Turner? I'm not really sure, but I do know that they had quite a, you know, a rough ride in terms of being a band at some stage. I probably need to read up about that. Maybe there's a really good documentary I could watch about that. I don't know. But it never seemed to stop them releasing really good records. I've got a few of their albums now, and this was one that I didn't have, so I'm glad to have it in my collection. So it's the second album, and probably the most famous song on here is "Taking Care of Business," which is a track, you know, like it's one of those songs that you've heard it a million times and it's never enough. You know, it's such a good track. In fact, many of the songs on here are really good, and I would recommend this. Again, BTO, they're a Canadian band, certainly one that I need to spend a bit more time with. Not a bad record at all, I think.
Right inside a dream.
I picked this one up in the same place that I got the second album by Golden Earring that I showed. It's a used, well, it's actually a bookshop, used bookshop, and they've got a section where they show, where they have used records, and they're really well priced. It's kind of one of those little secret corner places in a small town close to where I live in South Wales. I'm not going to tell anybody about it because it's a really good place to go and go fishing now and again and see what I can pick up, and I'm just surprised. It has some really good records, often in very good condition like this one, and yeah, really well priced, which is refreshing because these days you see a lot of used records for sale and they're just ridiculously priced, aren't they? Anyway, another record which I bought that's again was one that I'd seen shown a lot, Blue Oyster Cult. This is I mean, of all my records and rock records and everything, this is the very first album of theirs that I've ever had, and I specifically ordered this on Discogs because I saw that so many people were talking about Blue Oyster Cult, and I've heard it said that any of the black and white records by them, you can't go wrong. These are the first three albums. This is, I think, probably their most popular one with the fans. Yeah, there's a slight sort of there's a slight essence of Black Sabbath to this, which is interesting. I'm enjoying it a lot. Certainly, you know, really glad I've got this. Trying to think of the name of the guy that showed this one recently. All the World's a Stage. Yeah, he showed this recently. Said something about me having a career in evil. It's a bit spooky, but yeah, I think he was just being encouraging. So yeah, there's my first Blue Oyster Cult album. Certainly going to be the first of many. great record. Next record I'm going to show is, well, what can I say? Yeah, I've got a theory about this record. So this is, I think I'm right in saying, the last album released by Alice Cooper, the Alice Cooper that was the band before it became Alice Cooper the person, the solo artist. And yeah, if you think, I've collected records now since I was 13, which is a pretty long time. I'm 52 now, and you know, I've looked at Alice Cooper's discography online quite a lot, and for some reason I've never seen this one. It's never sort of jumped out at me. It's almost like it's sort of never existed. And when I found this, I almost glossed over it. I almost didn't see it, and I've got a theory about that. So anyway, it's called Muscle of Love. Kind of a lot of sexual links to the songs. This box, this sort of gimmick box, says attention. This carton contains one Alice Cooper Muscle of Love, fragile. And on the back it says phonograph record, do not bend, avoid excessive heat. And you open it up, and inside comes the whatever this is, the little sort of insert thingy. It's only printed on one side, but it's in pretty good shape. And then it's got an inner sleeve with pictures of Alice Cooper on it. And then I've got the record inside, which is on Warner Bros. Records. There's a label. Yeah, so I was in this what was the shop I was in? It was the Antiques Mall in a small town close by me called Cowbridge. And there's a sort of a record stall there, a man's sort of selling records, and he's never there, but you can just browse the records and buy at the central place. And I flipped past this. I looked for all the records at least twice, sort of choose what I was going to buy, and I flipped past this. And I only caught it almost when I was at the point of, you know, deciding what I was going to buy. And then I took a closer look at this and thought, oh crikey, it's an Alice Cooper album. I think I paid £10 for this. And because of its cardboard box, you know, I think we just see past this. Now there's 2 points of reference I'm going to bring here. Firstly is, if you've ever seen the Matrix film, like you've got the you know, there's bits where Neo is walking across the zebra crossing, and there's the lady in the red dress walking towards him, and yeah, they stop the animation, don't they, and stop the time. And Morpheus explains how, you know, this is a typical trick. It's sort of like a direction for Neo to focus on this lady in the red dress, and he doesn't see what's going on around him. Like everything else almost kind of stops existing because it's so grey and it's not as alluring to him as the lady in the red dress. So that's one point of reference. There's also this thing, there's a novel that I've read, one of my favourite novels, called The Glamour, by an author called Christopher Priest. Recommend it. It's such a brilliant book. And it's all about a man who sort of won awards in sort of photography for going on journalistic trips to war zones, and he seems to manage to get into the dangerous parts, get the brilliant award-winning shots, photographs, and then get out again. And anyway, it happens so that he has this thing called the glamour. He's unaware of it, and that is basically that he is there's a kind of sort of greyness to him, to his outward appearance, that people don't notice him. So even in a situation where he's in a war scene, he can get in there with his camera and take pictures, and he's kind of that dull person, a bit like the people around the woman in the red dress in The Matrix, where people just don't notice him. And in this novel, it talks about, you know, individuals that have that, we call it an ability, that there's sort of a greyness to their appearance or their personality that they just don't get noticed. Even when they're the only person in the room, they're just sort of not seen. And I think this record cover has that thing about it. It has, because it looks like an empty pizza box, or you can't see, but in the corner I've got one or two sort of Amazon delivery boxes, you know, where I've taken the record out and just put the record down over in the corner to get it out of the way. It looks a bit like sort of like a used cardboard box, which is essentially what the cover is, to the point where you just don't see it anymore. And that's why I've looked at Alice Cooper's discography for as many years as I have, and I've never even noticed that this record ever existed. And even when it was in front of me, when I was browsing records to buy, I flipped past it at least twice, just not seeing it. Well, there you go, that's my theory, which is a shame because it's a really, really good record. I read something about Alice Cooper was talking about how you know, this is much more of a band sort of hard rock effort as opposed to the albums that he'd released before, a couple of the albums he released before, that they were really sort of designed in the studio to be the way they were. I think that was Schools Out maybe, and whatever came else before. Whereas this time when they did this, it was more about really rocking out and stripping back the other kind of aspects of their music that they'd perhaps applied before, and making more of a sort of straight ahead rock album. And it is really good. I'm going to play a track from this, or at least some of it. See what you think of this. Really good. One other thing I'll say about this is it's got a track on here that they wanted to use as the theme song to The Man with the Golden Gun. Alice Cooper really wanted to be that band that supplied the song. Apparently it came in a day late, so it was rejected, and they went with the Lulu song instead. I never knew that, but they spent a lot of time listening to the sort of John Barry music that he'd written for past Bond records, and they did everything they could to make the song be the perfect song for the next James Bond film at the time. Too bad they didn't win. Now, this is, I think, in this set that I'm showing now, it's the only album. Oh, there goes my dog. Sonny, shush! This is the only album in this set that I'm showing that I bought brand new. I've been quite curious about Blue Cheer for a while because they're often cited as being sort of an early hard rock band, or definitely an early sort of influence on heavy metal, and so that's why I've sort of, you know, splashed out and bought this brand new. Yeah, so this is the second album by Blue Cheer, and I must admit it's a little disappointing, you know. Comes with this insert. You know, I've been thinking for the longest time, oh, it must be, you know, they must be truly great because they're always referenced as being perhaps the first hard rock, heavy metal type band, and it's a theme that I've often sort of spent time looking into. You know, what are the roots of a lot of the music that I like, and yeah, I don't mean it's a bad record. It's not, but it's certainly not. It's not up there with sort of some of the proto metal that I think. You know, you can listen to Hendrix and hear, you know, that must have had a huge influence on what was to go on afterwards. You can listen to, hey, you can listen to Cream. You can listen to, you know, all sorts of stuff. This is, although it's, you know, it's interesting, I don't think it's as edgy and hard as it's sort of supposed to be, or what people say it is. There was a Canadian journalist that wrote something. I just read this in Wikipedia. So it's a Canadian journalist called Martin Popoff praised the album, and he said the band predisposed of Purple, thwacked the face of Hendrix, and generally pounded psychedelia into the dirt. And he concluded that by most definitions this ain't heavy metal, but by most measures Blue Cheer stomp over Zeppelin 1 and 2. I don't agree. I really don't agree. And because I don't agree, I think, yeah, I'm going to show something now. We'll stomp all over Blue Cheer. This is first Slade live album. I've wanted this for a long time. I remember when I was much younger, one of my best friends suggested to me I might want to look into this. When I was sort of starting to get into real sort of harder rock, he said, "You want to listen to this?" And I, at the time, I sort of poo-pooed it. I thought, "Man, it's Slade. How heavy can it be? How rocking can it be?" This is when I was sort of starting to listen to, you know, more harder edge music, and I didn't really take it very seriously. And since then, you know, I've matured and grown up, and I've seen people like Steve Whitty who you know, really happily champion Slade as the great rock band that they were. And I've come to know some of Slade's later music, which I prefer over the earlier stuff. I'm talking about the great Kamikaze Syndrome and yeah, just the later records. I really like those. Anyway, I sort of kept my eye out for this, thinking, well, it's bound to prop up eventually, and it never did. So eventually I just caved, and I've bought this from Discogs, and I have absolutely no regrets. This is, you know, talking about stomping, this stomps all over Blue Cheer. I'm going to do a needle drop from this. This is famous for its atmosphere, it's famous for its rawness. This is edgy, this is the dog's bollocks. So yeah, with that, I'm going to say thanks very much, everybody. Check out my next video. I'm going to play out with this. Enjoy. Thanks very much. Bye.